This is Larry the Barber Man, and today I'm at the CT Barber Expo in Connecticut with none other than Lena Piccininni. She's an educator and artistic ambassador for the Chino brand. She's a barber, she's a hairdresser, she's a makeup artist, and there is a lot more to Lena. But before going into this interview, Lena, I must clear up with my viewers how you are a barber, a hairdresser, and a makeup artist, and what benefit you can bring to the barbering community. Now, it's my understanding that you use your makeup artistry to teach women how to fade, and you teach barbers how to use scissors with your haircutting experience, and that is how the whole thing was put together.
Yes.
And the Chino saw this in you, and as such hired you as an artistic ambassador for you. Would that
Yes.
be fair?
Yes.
Okay, and in your own words, tell me how you put this all together
Well,
for educational purposes.
for educational purposes, I started doing hair and makeup, and then I actually got into barbering because I went through some life experiences that I needed a job, and I started working at a barbershop, and I realized that it was extremely hard for a woman to work in a male-dominated industry. I needed to make sure my skills were, 100%. Sometimes I thought I had to be better than the men in the barbershop to actually be taken seriously. So I started looking at classes, and that's where I met Piccinos. I met him at one of the classes, and he actually followed me on Instagram, which Instagram and social media is amazing and huge these days for networking. So I started doing the classes with him. I started teaching with him, and I learned a lot by watching other people educate. But for me, I was like, how can I fade faster? How can I make my blends perfect? Why doesn't my blend look like Piccinos' blends? It was because I wasn't getting it. I wasn't really looking into every single detail. You really have to have the eye for it and the passion. A lot of people, they think because you're a man, you could be a better barber, and that's not the case at all. So for me, because I do makeup, and makeup is all about blending, it's the same thing. When you're blending, I always tell the hairstylist, everyone in here wears makeup. Maybe some of the guys too, I hope not, but you never know these days. Everyone wears makeup and they blend their makeup. You see the dark spots in makeup where you have to blend a little bit more. So I said, if you have issues, step back and look at the whole picture. Pretend this side of the head is an eyelid and you're blending your eyeshadow. It's the same thing. You can see the dark lines and what has to be a little bit lighter, a little bit darker. It's the same exact thing in a fade. Now for men, I actually did good in the barber shop because I was taking anyone that was sitting in my chair. So a lot of the barbers did not want to take the little Justin Bieber haircuts. They didn't want to take the older men with just a regular gentleman's haircut. They wanted to just fade. So for me, starting out, I wanted to take whoever I can get because I wanted to get a full book. At the end of the day, I always tell my clients, or I always tell my students or whoever I'm teaching, you want to be more versatile in the beginning. It helps you build your clientele. Because Justin Bieber's little skater may have an older brother with a fade. He may have a father with more clientele, or the older gentleman has a son, has grandchildren. Those are potential clientele. But so nowadays, I think a lot of the hairstyles are kind of coming together with cosmetology and barbering. I'm getting a lot of the women cuts that want the fades, and I'm getting a lot of the guy cuts that want shear work. So when I teach my classes, I try to teach a little bit of everything. This is what, we were talking about that before. When I teach, I can't just have 35 minutes because I really want everyone to know every single detail that's in my brain and why I cut the way I cut. And my clientele is everybody from little kids to women to men to makeup to haircuts to shaving to coloring to bridal to everything. So I try to take a detail from every little thing that I do and put it into my education and put it into my clients. I try to teach them you can't just do the same basic steps for barbering on every single person. You have to take those steps and apply it and really give that person their own haircut and their own color and their own shaping of their hair.
Okay. Just tell me about your entry specifically into barbering.
How I started barbering?
Yeah, just specifically.
Well, I was working in a hair salon. They changed owners and they actually wanted to cut my pay to basically half my pay. They were paying me $5 an hour to assist, to reception, to clean, and to shampoo. And I was very stubborn at 17. I said, absolutely not, I'm quitting. Unfortunately, around that time, my father happened to pass away, and I needed a job. I had to take over a house mortgage with my brother at 17 years old, fresh out of high school, no money, no nothing. So I tried to look around for jobs, and being, a hairstylist at 17 years old, out of school, no clients, not really any education in it, I couldn't get a clientele. It took a lot to get a clientele. I had a friend of my father's who called me. Thank God, I say thank God he broke his shoulder, but I feel bad, but thank God he broke his shoulder. He had a full book clientele, and he said, I know you do hair, do you do barbering? So I said, you know what, I need a job, and I'm very ambitious. I know if I put my mind to something, I could do it. I said, I can do this. I know I can. I lied to him and told him I was a barber, and I wasn't. I started doing a lot of his clientele, which, thank God, were gentleman haircuts, so I was very comfortable with the shear work. And then that was more of a summer job, so during the winter, it was a little slow. So I actually needed money, so I asked a couple of my guy friends, where do you guys get cut? So I saw a barbershop by a town by me, and I actually started working for him, which was all the fades and the straight razors and everything that I've never done before. And again, threw myself into there. I said, you know, I gotta make money. And that's how I started using my social media, trying to get every clientele, using my shear work and my makeup skills to help me fade faster and do different haircuts, anyone that sat in my chair. So, I mean, growing up younger, I never even thought of being a barber. You know, my dad and my brother are bald. I never even knew like what barbershops really did and the haircuts and the artistic ability in it. But I think because I love to do little things like, you know, makeup and hair, like it just all comes together. It's all art. It's all different little things you put together, and everyone has their own artistic value. And now I love it.
Okay, so Lena, would you say that Chino was instrumental in where you are today? I mean, you are, by all accounts, an influencer. You're an artistic ambassador for them. You've got like 120,000 followers on Instagram. How instrumental would you say that Chino was?
Without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because of his initial class that I even attended, just opened 1,000 doors for me over the last 4 years. You know, from where I started years ago to now, I never would have thought I would have been on this level, educating all over the country and in different countries, especially for barbering. So he's my mentor. He's an angel from above that really helped me pursue my dreams.
Okay, so you have quite a strong opinion on dress sense in a barber shop.
Yes.
I've seen you on stage. When you go on stage to do your hairdressing, it sometimes looks like you're going to a rock concert or something like that. Tell me your views on dressing in a barber shop and dressing on stage and why they're so different.
Well, a lot of times when I first started the barbershop, I wanted to make sure anyone that was sitting in my chair was making sure they were getting a haircut for my skills and not because of what I was looking like. So, and I try to teach that to a lot of girls that are in barbershops. I see them nowadays kind of wearing more revealing clothing to get clientele, and I feel like it's kind of the wrong clientele. I have a lot of questions, you know, this guy's hit on you at the barbershop. I said, no, I don't give him a reason to hit on me. You know, you get the little guys in the beginning that do that, but my clientele now is very respectable to me, and that's how I like it. You know, at the end of the day, you want to build a clientele, but you're cutting somebody's husband, you're cutting somebody's boyfriend, you're cutting somebody's father, son, grandfather. So I want to make sure when they, you know, their wives or girlfriends come to the barbershop, they're comfortable. A lot of girls have told me, you know, so-and-so brought his girlfriend and now he doesn't want to get a haircut by me. That's never happened to me before. You know, I greet the girlfriend, I'm always friends with them, but you want to make sure you're barbering for the right reasons. You know, you're barbering for a passion, not to meet guys or not to look a certain way to get clients into your chair, because it doesn't matter. You could be in a bathing suit, and if you don't cut good hair, guys will not sit in your chair. So I want to, you know, make sure to tell women to do it for a good reason and a passion, but be classy. You could always be sexy and classy.
Okay, perfect. And as a female barber, what would you say your biggest challenges are?
Thank God.
Male-dominated.
Right now I don't have that many because I've really worked my butt off over the last couple of years to really get myself out there. But my biggest challenges when I first started was just getting taken seriously. You know, I've had people get out of my chair. I've caped guys before, and they're like, you know what, never mind. You know what, maybe you should be sitting at the front desk. Maybe you should be sweeping the floor. Like, I've had all those comments to me in the barbershop and just pushed me further to be a better barber. So the challenge, honestly, is just getting guys to take a woman serious in a barbershop. And I always say you cut hair with your hands, not your genitals. So it shouldn't matter male or female or age or whatever. You know, everyone, if you have the passion for it, you could do it.
Branding. Talk to me a little bit about your branding. You've obviously got a flair for it. You've got 120,000 followers. You're a superstar in America, and maybe even bigger superstar in the likes of Brazil, Latin America. Tell me how women can go about branding themselves correctly to be taken seriously.
I mean, I think it's just how I was raised in general. You I wanted to make sure whatever I was putting out there on even Instagram, a lot of people use Instagram, and they put a lot of haircuts, but then they're putting their party weekend days on the same thing, or they're posting pictures in a certain thing, and then they're posting their haircuts. I just wanted my own brand to be very professional and classy, and again, that comes back to like the same thing with the clothing, or when we do have barbering events. I want to make sure my page is haircuts and it's my work. And if it's pictures, it's just me being myself, not, like drinking or alcohol or bottles and honestly, that was what Chino noticed. And he's like, I noticed your page because, of who you are, and you're very professional, and you're just working and working and working. A lot of people meet different people on network, and then they see their Instagram pages, and it's not that professional. So you really want to use it to your advantage. Like I said, I started posting just to get clients. Then I started posting more because I started networking. Like, you can network with people all over the country, because of Instagram and professionalism and how I branded my own name is where I am today. So that's a huge thing. If you want to have your party page, keep it separate and keep it private. If you want to have a business page, you can't mix business and pleasure. And that is a huge rule in the industry, and then I think in life in general. So branding is huge. You want to make sure you're branding and you're taking care of your brand every second of the day.
You're quite versatile. Tell me about your versatility in...
A lot of questions, like especially when I'm at teaching schools or even just barbers just starting out, their number one question is, how do you build a clientele? Or how long did it take you to build a clientele? And being a woman is harder to build a clientele than any man, number one. But number two is because I was versatile. I see a lot of guys that actually worked at the barbershop where I used to work at and didn't really have a big book or a clientele at all because they only wanted to cut certain people. I was never scared to cut a kid, a man, long hair, short hair. I would take anyone, and making sure I was versatile, and that helped me stay busy and make money.
And in closing, what words of advice could you give to other female barbers that wanted to be brand ambassadors, artistic ambassadors for the likes of Chino, give education all around the world, and be an influencer, because that's what you are?
You got to just put yourself out there. Again, my number one thing is always be classy, always be professional. Really, you got to practice. You got to show your work. You got to promote yourself, promote your brand, and keep doing it. Make yourself out to these shows. I drove 4 hours just to come walk around, just to come see everyone, And I don't even, I've been to these shows so many times, but I still put myself out there because I've never met you before, now I met you. You know what I mean? Put yourself out there. If you have to take off a day, take off a day. Go network, go to the IBS shows, go to the barber battles, search people's Instagrams, really use your hashtags and things like that. Like, put yourself out there, network, post your work, and then it just comes, whatever is supposed to happen happens, but nothing comes to you if you don't work and you don't do it in a professional way. So, a lot of people ask me, how do you do this and how did you become that? I'm like, if I could do it, anybody could do it. I started from nothing. I started from being poor. I started from never even cutting men's hair before, and now I'm traveling the globe teaching. If I could do it, you could do it, but you have to put in the work. You have to practice, and you have to have patience. Nothing comes overnight. You're not going to go to a barbering expo and then be the biggest educator in the country. It takes time. It takes a lot of, sometimes money, to just put yourself out there. But again, if I could do it, anybody could do it.
So in barbering, Lena, what would you say your area of specialty is, where you feel nobody else can touch you in that specific area of barbering?
I don't even know. I guess honestly just combining the clipper and the shear work together. That's my biggest, just to have everything. A lot of my clientele, a lot of my new clientele that I'm still getting is actually coming from other barbers that are saying, this guy wants a pompadour with a bald fade or an undercut. You can go to Lena. She's really good with the shears and she's good with the clippers. Go to her. So I feel like for me, my thing is both. And the same thing with my women clientele. Instead of going to a barbershop for your undercut and then going to a salon for your color, you're coming to me because I can do both. I just call it a well-rounded stylist. I'm a versatile stylist. My clientele is versatile. I like it. I'm very eclectic with my work.
So Lena Piccininni, thank you ever so much for taking the time out of your off day to come here and do an interview with Larry the Barber Man. I'm sure you've kind of opened out your personality to a lot of people that don't get the opportunity to go to shows and see you. They've only seen your stuff on Instagram, so I'm sure you've left a wealth of information and inspiration to female barbers across the globe.
I aspire to inspire. Well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.